I love her so. And we shall belong to someone alive. Even though. How many of y'all are thinking that regarding someone that you've been connected to? Hmm? Question should be why? Why do you have that disposition with that person that at one time had access to your life? You know you're doing yourself a disservice if that is the position that you choose to hold on to. You really are. Because indirectly, you don't realize you are giving your power to someone that is not in your life. Who am I talking to? You walking around with denial and delay. Why? Because they're not in your life anymore? Nah, that is not your story. But it is a reality to those who have had an experience that has had an impact that has shifted the direction that you know. That direction is known with as your reality. Nah, we're gonna get you back. That's right. That's right. Because see, you have the responsibility called your legacy. And you're gonna find out how strong you really are. So how you doing, y'all? It is Thursday, the 17th of August. Some of y'all who are been blessed to own, or shall I say, embrace the title of parent, have already sent your babies off to school. I congratulate you. And then there are some that are gearing up for this to take place. I commend you too. But 2016, y'all, why is it that this year has been not only evident but so impactful that it has had a way of impacting the masses? There's been a lot of pain in 2016, y'all, but there's also been a lot of truth. And what's going on now is some are waking up. Oh, yes, you are. And you are being forced to make a choice. I really like to look at it as you're making a change because, see, the real you is tired. Yes. It's time to come back home to you. But see, I understand. I understand. There's some of y'all saying, Gerald, well, how are you going to tell me to come back home to me when my reality is gray? See, that is only a perception, but guess what? The best you is yet to be embraced. That's right, because see, you have things unleft that was set to the side that you've got to go back to now. Yes, you do. And it's time for you to be honest with the real you. I'm talking about that person that you see every morning, the one that wakes up with all your hopes and desires, the one that knows your story because it is your purpose. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm talking to you. It's time to come home. Yes, it is. So, what is going on, y'all? Some of y'all are in your spiritual storms, and what is being revealed may seem like a test. But let me let you know something. From my personal experience, when I went through my spiritual storm almost 5 years ago, I realized that what was at stake is the person that you are seeing now. hmm that guy. So for me to get to me, I had to stand. Yeah, I did. And I had to allow myself to take inventory. Yeah, I did. See, first of all, when it comes to you, what's preventing you from embracing what you need? Is it a social position? Is it an economic decision that was done? How about emotional? Or is it something deeper? How about that spirit? Huh? Yeah. You don't actually think that the reality that you have today is going to be your end all be all. Surely you don't think that because guess what? We're going to debunk that right now because see, what you may have forgotten or gotten complacent is see, you still got a whole lot of life to be lived. That means that's a whole lot of experiences that you have to give responsibility to cultivate. You got to do that. Who's going to do that for you? Surely it's not the person that you share your bed with. How about the person you break bread with? How about the person you rub elbows with? Surely it's not them. How about that person that just by chance? Because let me tell you something. Listen, nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing happens by chance. And I will even go on a limb to say this because I know one of the most pivotal things that have been occurring in 2016 is that you've had a lot of people that have disconnected themselves not only to their spirituality, I'm talking about that beautiful soul of yours, but also they're making it tandem that whatever their disappointments are has validity. Who am I talking to? So what I'm asking is when are you going to allow that healing to take place? Hmm? You actually don't believe that you are a regret, do you? Do you actually believe that you're a mistake? Are you basing your perception? How about your ideologies off of what was conveyed to you? Don't you realize when you allow your perceptions or how you live your life, if you're basing it off of someone's opinion, how about their acceptance? Who am I talking to? So now silent. You walking around like you're walking on eggshells, and that's supposed to be your life? I think not. I think not. Mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. Nope. I disagree because number one, you were divinely meant to find this video. Mhm. And it's to serve one thing. I'm talking to that real you, not that person that you show the world to. Nah, we're not talking about them. We're not talking the person that just so happens you share a job with. No, no, I'm talking about the person that's going to share your forever with. And see, I know the devil's a liar right now. So give me a second because I'm going to turn that down because I know that this message is going to reach somebody intended. Give me a second, y'all. I appreciate your patience. Thank you for your patience. Now, y'all want to hear something funny, y'all? See, just as many of you have a landline, and then you have your mobile. Some of y'all have them combined. That's good. Save some money. However, you know one thing I've noticed. See, with my my message, I'm old school. My phone's got the answer service, and the same answering message that I have has been since day one. And the last thing I always convey when leaving my message to the prospective caller is always place God first in everything you do. And you notice, and what I've noticed is people that have no reason calling me, maybe, because they do robocalls and people are solicits on your phone line. Every time it gets to that point, they always hang up. I'm like, yep, see, that's what God does. Because, see, if you place God first in everything you do, He's going to protect you from the things you can't see, but He's going to reveal the things you need to know. Who am I talking to? Huh? Who am I talking to? Am I talking to you? Your life is not to be the epitome of Pandora's box. You're not supposed to be walking around saying, oh, this is the Discovery Channel, aka my life. No, 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 no. That ain't it. So how can the best you be evolved or revealed to the world in the intended time if you're constantly looking over your shoulder? You can't go forward if you're looking back. Who am I talking to? I'm saying this for a reason, because there's something that people don't talk about. And I don't understand why we don't talk about it, because there's a lot of conversations that we should be discussing as a society, as a community, that does not get any verbiage. But to make my point, some of y'all are having habitual lessons play out in this. You're dealing with people that you were connected to, may it be in a relationship, either physically, spiritually, or financially. And you're like, why am I going through this? I went through this with her. I went through this with her, and I went through this with her and her and her. You know why you're seeing this play out over and over and over again? It's because you have not learned the lesson. Surely you don't think you are brought on this planet doormat, something to do. Stolen moment. And the most disrespectful term for a human is the side guy or side chick. I don't even like saying it, because that is so disrespectful to that person. Because number one, what you're doing now indirectly is you are choosing not to acknowledge their name. So if you look at them with that perception, you've already degraded them. But here's the thing, you've degraded yourself because you're connected to them. Who am I talking to? Huh? You can't smell the fragrance of a flower unless you put the seed in good soil first. Who am I talking to? The reason for this is very simplistic when you think about it. See, first of all, we are spiritual beings first, y'all. I don't care what you're gonna have a lot of people out here that are gonna give you different perspectives of why we are why. Why are we here? Listen, you're a spiritual being first. If you wasn't a spiritual being first, you wouldn't be in physical form, flesh. Okay? I've never met a person that was born physical flesh and had no spirit. Because if that was the case, if there was some type of calamity, like say for example, a car wreck, and that person had no spirit, that flesh gets damaged. The probability of them surviving is non-existent. Why do you think people survive things like that? It is the will of the spirit, the real you. So here comes the spiritual battle. As I've echoed through all my videos, is this: when you came to this planet to walk on this blessed ground we know as Earth, as a spiritual being, you had already signed on to fulfill certain objectives. This is your purpose. Your purpose will also, as you grow, reveal your natural God-given talents. Otherwise, the person next to you would share the same talents as you. This is what defines our uniqueness. That's why the spiritual battle is to convince this beautiful mind you're not valuable. And you're right, you're not. When it comes to value, it's immeasurable, because you're priceless. There'll never be another you. So I need you to embrace that, lock that in, just for the sole fact there is no other you. That's you. It's your experience, and your experience is going to be navigated by how you perceive your life or your steps. Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Let's look at this. Look about all the stories you've heard where people have come from nothing, right? But yet they blossomed into somebody of greatness, of importance. You know why that took place? First of all, because in the intended time and moment, God showed you. He may have placed people on your path to show you. That's why people come into your life. They're either of two positions. They're your lesson or your blessing. But if they're your lesson, if you are not willing to be vulnerable and transparent to yourself, you won't get it. You won't understand it. The person might as well be talking in a foreign tongue because you won't be able to receive it. That's why the little things distract you. Think about how many of those heart-to-heart conversations you didn't have. Person is coming to you with transparency. First of all, they're doing that because they value who you are. Let's get that straight. Secondly, what is being illustrated is the connection of the spirit. That's why two different people going in two different directions can't walk forward together, because you're not yoked. Think about how many times you may have thought that there was a want that was very great, and you put all this emphasis and energy in it to cultivate it, only for it to fail. You know why? Number one, there was something about that person that had yet to be revealed. That person may have been looking like milk and honey on the outside, but they were dark inside. And in the intended time, their spirit was bared to you. Who am I talking to? If this was not the case, we wouldn't have divorces, y'all. Why do you think divorces occur? But yet, before a divorce can occur, if you rewind everything back from one, you'll also understand this. Before the two could come together to be one, there had to be a woeful concession between the two. So therefore, you must both share a like-minded understanding. Otherwise, what we got to talk about? A person's not going to align themselves with somebody that they can't grow from. It is pointless. And really, when you think about it, it is one of the illustrations of disrespect. Unless, because that's what that opportunist do. See, the opportunist is a person that has given up on their abilities to grow. So what they do is it's more convenient for them to latch on like a tick on a dog than for them to fly. And that's what happens. As you are progressing through life, you start feeling these little hiccups. And of course, depending on the value of that connection, you address it. But how can you address or correct anything if there is no communication? I'll do one better. You do understand as a child, the number one responsibility that a child has is to learn, right? So if I'm your parent and I'm illustrating toxic uh, toxic behaviors, you're going to embrace that because you're going to think that's true. That's why you always hear this all the time. Well, you know what, Gerald? Opposites attract. No, they don't. Like-mindedness does. But see, you have people that want to convince you of that. You say, well, Gerald, you know, uh, I may have, I wanted to build a life with her, and then all of a sudden, she went left or she went right, and I don't understand what's going on because you forgot to look at you. Was the initial connection above board? Sometimes there are variables sometimes where the person is genuine. They are genuine and they're 100% committed. And then all of a sudden, the relationship falls apart. You know why that occurs too? You ready? Because somewhere in your past, you did that same thing to someone else. Instead of taking the time to take stock of what occurred so you can learn from it, this is your insight, which will become your wisdom, will dictate the outcome. That's why when you hear people have this, which is really sad, they embrace this term to get over someone is to get under somebody else. Well, if you're spending more time getting under someone else, where's the room to heal? Where's the room to connect to self? How do you know where you're going if you don't understand where you've been? Who am I talking to? So it doesn't matter if you spend an emphasis on your physical self, that's not going to keep her there. If you're spending more time trying to get your financial self, that's not going to keep him around. And what could be worse, he might turn around, take your hard work and efforts and give it to someone who has less than. Who am I talking to? That occurs all the time. I get letters all the time, and I'm going to keep the anonymity where it needs to be. Where I've seen this play out time and time again. from the outside, you were the Joneses. You had it going on. Everybody envious of where you have been. But guess what? Behind closed doors, there was no love there. But here's the beautiful thing about that, because that's what truth is. It's the fact that the love was not based off of the exchange between you and your mate. It was the love that was found in you. Because guess what? What is love given if it's not received? And see, we have this template that things have to be what you want to be, but you fail to realize the further and further that you focus on your agenda, the more further you are divided from the ultimate agenda, God's plan. Now, let's go back real quick before I lose my point. I always hear people ask me, they say, Gerald, I'm dealing with a situation where I've got an ex and I'm trying to move forward, but no matter what I do, my heart keeps pulling. I'm trying to heal, but the more I try to focus on me, the more the battle is for my emotional state. Now I'm gonna tell you something, and depending on your position, you might not like it, but I hope it gives you understanding. See, the number one reason why exes tend to return in your life is the fact that, first of all, there's a uniqueness about you. What was the reason why they initially came into your life, as well as what was the motivation under it? You got to be honest with that. So if it was based off of a secret rendezvous, guess what? Their behavior is going to be in secret. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm talking to somebody, but what's more secret is their heart. You ain't going to be able to see that. Because what's sad is you're going to get to a place of scratching your head a little bit too much, and you're like, who am I dealing with? The second reason why exes tend to come back, because you do understand, as long as you're breathing this precious air, they're gonna try. They're gonna try because your spirits are connected. God knows that, and that devil knows that too. So that's where you got to be honest with yourself and define: are they a lesson or are they a blessing? A lesson or a blessing. Now I know for some of y'all may be saying, "Well, Gerald, he was a straight up lesson." Okay, you might be true, but people change, and you see a lot of this occur too. People kind of have awakening moments when they've gone through some things. And some of our greatest teachings are based off of past actions done through other people. So think about it. That's how we learn, right? You wasn't born with all the education and knowledge that you needed. Now, did you? You didn't learn how to walk and talk unless your parents or someone of influence was there to hold your hand. Who am I talking to? And that's what's exactly going on now. So you've got to take responsibility for what has occurred. Now, I will say this, because that devil knows your legacy. See, the moment you took your first breath, y'all, your legacy is written. That's why you're going through everything that you're going through. Because see, the ultimate payout is that blessed person. That's why you always hear me say this. In the intended time and moment, after you've prepared, that means you got to take accountability of what you have on hand. you got to be honest with yourself. But the only way you can be honest with yourself, you must allow yourself to be vulnerable. Because until you decide to be vulnerable, you can't be transparent. See, that's what separates a person being real from a person being plastic. Who am I talking to? See, that plastic person, they're no different than that hamster on the treadmill. They're just gonna keep going on and not going nowhere. It's a choice. Now, so let's go back to why they do this. So as I said to you before, it's to find off the initial connection and how that was forged. So to some, it may be a memory because a lot of us see that's something that people don't talk about either. Even if that guy or that girl was the worst rotten person, you have to admit to yourself there was some good memories in there because you were a part of it. Now that could have been the setup of your descent too, because that's what opportunists do too. Opportunists have the ability to mimic. They have the ability to wear multiple masks for an indefinite period of time. But guess what? The real them has to come out. You know why? Because it's not them. That's why you see it all the time. You're like, man, there's something about them. I don't know what it is. That's that they're wearing right now. But guess what? All porcelain masks have cracks. You just got to grind your feet to see it. That's why a person can't do anything to you unless you allow it. You got to sign off on it. That's why it's either a lesson or a blessing. You signed off on it when you were a spiritual being first. Now, let's get that out of the way. So, I know some of y'all, unfortunately, have had to deal with people that come off like stalkers, too. Now, here's the funny thing about that. I say that figuratively. You know why you're going through that, too? Because you did that to somebody else, too, in your behavior. Maybe not intentionally. And usually, what that boils down to is really based off of insecurity, but a whole lot of control issues. You didn't like what she said, so you turned around and felt that you had to strong arm the outcome so it best suits you. But guess what? Do you not realize that outcome was a setup for your pain? Because it was not pure. That's why when you see this all the time, she can be queen lover woman. She fulfills all your sexual fantasies, but she doesn't love herself. I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it, but it happens. On the outside, he's the best provider you've ever met, but he shows no emotions. You know why that is? Because no one taught him how. That's right, Queen. That's the byproduct of not allowing a boy to be around a man. Now, I'm not talking about thug life over here, because the reason why thug life is the way he is, that is the effect of not having what he needed in his life and in his development. So he uses this persona, which is he thinks his strength. And most people that have control issues have deep insecurities about themselves. How many times have you been involved with someone and the moment that you're able to see them for who they are, the relationship ends? You know why? Because they're terrified that you will see the real them. Who am I talking to? Now, I know that might not have answered someone's question because I know somebody's going through this right now. You're like, Gerald, I'm just trying to move on with my life, and but physically I'm going forward, but I'm held hostage to my emotions. How can I get through that? Okay, you want to get through it? Then first of all, sit down, go get a journal, and get the writing for the things that you need. Then write the things you wish to change, and look at the contrast between what you're asking for. Because see, words have power, y'all. That's why you always hear that old saying, be careful what you ask for, because it's not that you just might get it. You're going to get it. But if it's not blessed, it can't last. If anything, it will hold you back. But I've had somebody ask me this too. They were like, and I'm going to paraphrase it. Well, Gerald, I've gone, my life, my childhood was a living hell. I didn't have support from my mom. My dad wasn't there. And I was forced to raise myself. And in turn, I found myself seeking love, seeking attention. And all that did was put my health at risk. It put me in harmful ways, harmful places. And I've got a lot of wounds. I got a lot of scars. And you've given up on the aspect of love. First of all, you can't give up on love because you, until you decide to unconditionally love yourself first. You got to love yourself first. Doesn't matter what you have physically, materially. You'll know you loving yourself when you stop taking restrictions. You take them restrictions off of your life. No, that doesn't mean to love yourself is I've got an alter ego. I'm up in the club every weekend. First of all, you'll never find love in the club. Why do you think entertainers sing about it? Because that's an illusion there. That's why everything's done in the dark. That's why you always see the neon lights. That's why the drinks are so strong. It's to go after that beautiful mind. And that's why when the morning comes, unfortunately, you wake up to a stranger you don't know. It happens every day. I'm speaking about it because I done been there. So you're not a stolen moment. You're not a mistake. You're not a regret. And I know some of y'all have been reared in an environment where your parents told you that. You know why your parents told you that? It's because they felt that with them. And they didn't have the courage to heal themselves. So guess what? They turned around and took their wounds and projected it on you. Or even worse, you see this. Your daddy treats you second rate. But then you go through life and you're trying to figure out, well, why it's so hard? Why is this? Why were you not there, right? Maybe, just maybe, you look like your mother. Or you look like your daddy and your mother's not with your dad. And you are a constant reminder of a disappointment. But you're the blessing that came from that. Talking to, you think that your life is supposed to be a living a living testament of what failure is? Nope. Mm-mm. You might be going through a season where, because I know a lot of people have been going through struggles with their finances. You're like, man, every time I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, but I can't get ahead. It's like taking a bucket full of holes in it and trying to fill it up. No matter what you do, I'm gonna tell you what you ain't doing. You ain't praying. And I know somebody saying, Joe, I pray every day. Are you praying through your mind? Or are you praying from your heart? Because your spirit is connected to your heart. Because guess what? That's what God looks at. He looks at, where do you think integrity comes from? Integrity is doing the right thing when no one's looking. So you don't need validation from other people. You just got to be you. So let's throw this in there. Queen, why do you think you're going through that season of one night stands? Why do you think you're going through them? Just as quick as you get them, just as quick as they leave them. They leave you. Why do you think you're going through that? Have you not seen the commonality? First of all, the commonality is you because you're part of it. But the other reason is because you don't know how to say no to you. Yes, you too, King. Your forehead doesn't say doormat, but it seems like when it comes to the connection, they always exploit you. And what's going on now? You get to a point where you're big and bad, and you're saying, women ain't this, women ain't that. When the truth is, the woman that is going to end up showing you the other side of your life is going to be a spiritual woman. You keep running from it. You can't change your destiny. You just can alter your perception of how it is, because when it's all said and done, you're going to end up over there anyway. Let's talk about those people who don't. Unfortunately, a lot of times what is occurring is these people have gone through so much pain. They've allowed spiritual attacks to occur to wound them. And that's like a spiritual motivation. That's why pain always attracts pain. So why aren't you loving on you? I guarantee you, the moment that you decide to stop making excuses, you'll stop running. And the question should be, what are you running from? I'll tell you, it's that beautiful person looking in the mirror every morning. Because, see, that's the person you have to answer to. You have to answer to, metaphorically answer to them. I know some people be saying, well, Gerald, I've been married for 20 years and I answer to them. Listen, that is a spiritual bond. But if it feels like it's pulling teeth, guess what? You still got to make a conscious decision to let your teeth get pulled. Who am I talking to? Now, let me go back there again. Can people change? Yes. But I guarantee if you turn around and look truth in its face, because guess what? One thing that does not change is truth. It doesn't. It is there. So you got to have courage to embrace it. Now, maybe the truth is you've come to a place where you are starting to own your steps. Because you'll come to understand, the more that you decide not to own your choices, your life slows down. It's like a spiritual magnet, y'all. That's why you hear this all the time. People that choose to not protect their lives always go through abuse. All that is nothing but a spiritual attack. Now, let me go there with that. Let's just say you have a relationship with someone and you are doing everything. You are the epitome of the companion you wish to be. And they're the opposite of that. And you're saying, well, they're my lesson. Yeah, they are your lesson. Because what they're showing you through time is, number one, they don't love themselves. So if they don't love themselves, how could they truly love you? How can they truly protect you? How about have the ability to protect your dreams? Because, see, your mate, the responsibility that your mate will have, the greatest responsibility is your heart. Why do you think vows are said the way they are? The sicker better for richer or poor, till death do us part. You notice people don't do the death do us part no more. They treat relationships like contracts, because legitimately for the states, United States, or worldwide, it is a contract. It is. But then you'll also have to look at it like this. Some people go in these things with the agenda of benefiting off of you. That's why you see this all the time in the sports community. You'll see this, you'll see this athlete, and the reward was a sponsorship. And within 3 years, he got children. Within another 3 years, he's divorced. And half of his possessions are divided. That made me think about something. I was like, well, where was the vows in that? But what really made me think was, if this person had nothing, would that person still be there? If he was Johnny Ordinary, would the commitment be still strong? I'm going to tell you what, a relationship built without God in it is already damned. You do understand. It doesn't matter what you come to grasp. You do understand that, right? Because what's going to happen is you're both going to be attached to the hardship. And even if you try to pull your parachute to get out of the situation, and legally they say, well, you're entitled to this. Guess what? Because it wasn't blessed, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it 10 times the value of what you get, because God's not in it. That's why I always say place God first in everything you do, because if you place God first in everything you do, guess what? He's going to protect you from those pitfalls. He's going to protect you from them strongholds. He's going to protect you from them soul ties. He's going to protect you. Why? Because you're his child. Guess what? You was his child the moment you took your first breath, but because of mankind. That's why we're going through the season that we're going through now. You got all these people that are walking around with their mouth open because they're going through things, but they don't want to own it. They think that if I change the climate, it's going to better suit me. Maybe, but usually the outcome of that is you end up, the next climate is worse than where you were to begin with. And you know why? Because you ain't had that conversation with God from day one. So guess what? This is what he doing. He's just sitting there doing this. Okay, when you're ready. Yeah, I know that you have all these blessings with your name on that I want to give you so badly. Yeah, I do. But I can't set you up for failure, because then that would be me saying that you will regret from day one. I can't do that, because I am the epitome of perfection. And you're the evidence, because you're my child. Who am I talking to? So what happens? It doesn't have God's mercy and favor on it. It is illuminated. It stands out like a red bond. And you see this too. Relationships, they part. You go down life's road. They go down life's road. And then guess what? The person that they're with look like you. Who am I talking to? Now, you could take an egotistical position like imitation is flattery, but you know darn well it was your spirit that influenced what they're walking with, who they're working with. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? Once again, if God is not in that, you just added another tear, another delay, another distraction until you decide to come on home. When I mean by the term home, I'm talking about within. Truthfully, see, it's like the hip hop legends Black Sheep. They had their song, "You can get with this or you can get with that," right? That's how God is with the devil. You can either place me in front of you, or you can go ahead and deal with the rest of the reality like everybody else. Because in the last, we are in last stage. You do understand that, right? That's why there's so much foolishness going on in the world. That's why so many people right now think they can come out their mouth without any accountability and think they can say and do whatever. Oh, let me tell you something. Number one, what did God say? He said, vengeance is mine. It's not your responsibility to chastise that person or seek revenge on that person because that's not your place. Your place is to prepare and cultivate the best you. Doesn't matter if you have a PhD if you don't know yourself. Who am I talking to? But you deserve to be loved. You deserve to be cherished. You deserve to be protected. You deserve to be honored. But why aren't you doing that for you? Hmm? Why are you doing that? You think that because of what you look like today is all that matters? Don't you realize time waits for no one? And the assets that you have cannot avoid age. So guess what? You may be firm and perky today, but guess what? It's going to drop. It's going to droop. It's going to shift. Why am I bringing that up? Because a lot of you, that's why you see so many women running to get plastic surgery, walking around looking like Dr. Seuss characters, and that ain't funny. Looking like Muppets. Nip and tucking. Why? When in actuality, all you have to do is get your rest, drink your water, stay vitamined up by being prayed up, and stop believing in man. Because see, man will never give you tomorrow. Because man has never mastered forever. He only mastered the season. That's why anything done with man's hands is temporary. Come on now. Think about it. Think about when you went to that dealership and bought that shiny car. The moment it hit the street, the value went down. That shouldn't be your life. Huh. But you shouldn't be walking around this planet and everybody's taken from you. Hmm? What's the point of walking with somebody who can't empower you? Because you look at the people in the cheap seat, they're all chained to themselves. They're all shackled to themselves. For those that are getting down with the tarot cards, you know that devil card? What do you see on that card? You see devil above them. You see a man and a woman chained. That's a soul tie. That's an illustration of what a soul contract does. And that's the reason why they come back. Because you can't go forward if you're looking over your shoulder. So you're saying, well, Joe, well, what about that person that, y'all went, it was good, and then it got sour, and then it got climatic, and it got climatic because you wouldn't let it go. That's why we go through pain, y'all. Because spiritually, what's going on? You're being divided from that person. Now, let's put this out here too. When your exes come, you ain't got to say one word to them. You're not obligated. The lessons learned. But I'm throwing something in here though. If that person doesn't have a relationship with God, y'all got nothing to talk about anyway. And what do I say about that? If a person doesn't have a connection with God, they don't have a connection with themselves. So if they don't have a connection with themselves, they'll never have a connection with you. So if they don't have a connection with you, why are they going to see the urgency to protect your heart? Who am I talking to? How about protecting your dreams? How about cultivating the perspective of what life is together? Hmm? She's not your mother. He's not your dad. But you see this all the time. You see a whole lot of women thinking that, well, if I get with an older man, he'll make up for what I didn't have with my father. Who am I talking to? Let me tell you something. You can go that route if you want to, and guess what you're going to get? You're going to get a whole lot more pain because guess what? You're not yoked. What he got, what do y'all have in common except for the sexual act? Because if he had himself together, wouldn't he be with someone that's evenly yoked with him? How about his own age? You see this all the time. You wouldn't have divorce court and Judge Joe Brown and these shows if people would just take the time to love themselves. What is pushing you from that? What's keeping you from finding the peace that you deserve? What's keeping you from focusing on those blessings called your spiritual gifts, your talents? You may know it's a hobby, but you can't be proud of what these are all definitions of the makings of you. What's keeping you from that? I'll tell you why. Listen, this is you right here. If your life, if you don't feel that, you ain't living. You're not living because your life is one of a million. Your life is priceless. You don't get no badge of honor because you let her exploit you. He uses you as a thumbtack. Come on. Only time you deal with him is when he's stroking your guitar string. Really? Come on. If he loves you so much, why hasn't your name changed? Who am I talking to? And that's why I see this play out all the time too. A lot of queens, a lot of women, because queens don't do this. But women, they think because if I have a child, that's my ticket in your life. No, it isn't. That's the biggest farce ever. You don't believe me? Why do we have social services then? Hmm? Why do we have Planned Parenthood then? Huh? Listen, I don't know who put that flyer out there that convinced you, my women, that you think that if I have a child, it will make up the wounds in my heart because you got someone to unconditionally love you. Of course, they got to depend on you. You're the parent, but you're setting them up for failure if you're not giving the best you. All you're doing is setting up the generational curse because all the things that you lack, you are placing it in their spirit. Who am I talking to? Mm-mm. That's not your story. That's not your story. Listen, that was Tyson. He's like, yeah. Come on. You're not supposed to be spending every day behind closed doors crying yourself to sleep, drinking your pain, and there's not enough alcohol, there's not enough drugs, there's not enough sex. It's just going to take that pain away. It's not. There's only one solution. That's God. You got enough energy to pop off when you don't like what someone's saying, but why won't you turn that into yourself? Why won't you have that same passion? Because that's all it is. And have that conversation with God. That's why he told us, come as you are. He don't care that you driving a Bentley. He don't care that you slept with 150 men. He don't care about that. He wants his baby back. He wants his child back. And until you decide to find peace, I'm okay. So he think I'm going through something. Okay, just speaking truth. Until you can't even call yourself an adult until you learn how to critically think. How about a spiritually embrace? How about you finally take that stone out of your heart and forgive yourself for the choices you've made, because those choices you made is what has made your reality. Some of y'all don't even realize that you're sleeping with a demon right now. Some of y'all, maybe you got one inside you. That's why every time that you try to go forward, there's some type of delay. Why? It's a spiritual attack. Because see, the devil was trying to grab you. So listen, the devil wants to kill you. Okay? Bottom line. The devil doesn't want you to be the best you. The devil wants your life to end. So those spiritual gifts you got, those hobbies, those blessings, those dreams, those aspirations, they're not passed on to the next. That's our children. That's our babies that we are neglecting. That's why you don't hear nobody talking about the homelessness in our United States. We spend trillions of dollars elsewhere but home. How can we worry about the next neighbor's yard if we can't do ours? Huh? You can't toot your nose up because little Shay Shay's got her ass on her back, thinking that's the only way that she can get attention when you're not doing it at home. Who am I talking to? You can't turn around and get mad at little man because all you see him do is sit around the house with a game controller and he's gaining weight. He's becoming lethargic. He's just being a bump on the log. Why? Because you're not protecting your child. And you know what happens to an unprotected child? They become a victim in the streets. Because trust and believe, there's a lot of sexual addicts out there. Come on now. That's something we don't even do. We celebrate that. Because we're like, oh, well, she a freak, boy. Oh, yeah, I can slap it, flip it, rub it down. Yes, sir. But she got no life skills. And since she ain't got no life skills, guess what? She ain't going to be claimed. She's going to be a statistic. And she's going to be a conduit of birthing children that are not ready for life. No. You don't believe me? Ask social services. Don't believe me? Ask Planned Parenthood. Why you think they made the Plan B pill? Oh, yeah, I did some research on that, y'all. You do understand that former President Bush, when he was talking about exploration of stem cell research, where do you think he was getting that from? Huh? Before you can have any research, you must have something to research on. Where do you think they're getting it from? It was in the news. That's why organ donation and organ transplants is a billion-dollar industry too. And guess where they're getting it from? People that look like you and me. But because it's not seen on Love and Flip Flop, Bad Girls, and see that right there, she told you right there that society don't want you to be the best you, because they put imagery out there for you to embrace. To see, if I can get your mind, I can get your body. That is the mantra of the pimp. That's why you see this happening, unfortunately, in churches these days. Oh, and I'm not bashing that, because I'm gonna tell you what, there's a difference between being spiritual and being religious. The term religious means pattern. The word spiritual means connection. I can be religious in how I drive my car, but I'm spiritual because I'm connected within me. There's more to me than my physicality, what's found in my wallet. That's why when you are blessed to have someone that has a beautiful heart, you'll notice they also have a beautiful soul. But see, we are what we attract, y'all. We are. So you see this happen too. See, God, because he loves you so much, he'll bring someone into your life that is not like you at all. You know why he does that? To inspire you to be you. He wants the best you. That's why you will not find peace with them. I'm talking about, who am I talking to? If you're divided with yourself, you're going to be divided with your community. You understand that, right? It starts with us. But we've gotten so comfortable in pointing the finger. We've gotten so comfortable in not taking accountability. We've got so comfortable with shifting the blame. Nobody wants to own. See, nobody's going to own your life but you. So if you're not doing the work, the reward is what you're seeing. So I've ran my mouth too long, but I want to say this before I wrap this up. 2016 is the prime example of the devil's work. There's been so much bloodshed on this world, globally, down to a community near you, in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state. But nobody's looking at that. Why are we not protesting? Why are we not unifying for better education? Hmm? Why are we not unifying because of business? How about starvation? Do you realize we have people that live in the United States that they don't eat? One of the things that's going on now, and I'm surprised no one said anything, because there's a lot of it's really gotten pandemic. Okay, now you got people that want to talk about the drugs and stuff, right? First of all, ain't no poppy fields in a hood near you. There's no cocoa uh, fields in a hood near you. No. It has to get here somehow. So that means somebody's bankrolling that. But what about the hunger issue? You realize there's a person who looks like you that are starving. They're electing to dumpster dive. Here's the crazy thing about it. Did you know that it's against the law for restaurants, if they have food, instead of bagging it up and giving it away, they have to throw it away? And you wonder why people dumpster dive? If that's not the epitome of selfishness, I don't know. So, because it's about that dollar, y'all. And it's sad. So if you're rearing a child that is not being properly nourished, it's not getting the nutrients it needs, it's not getting the emotional uh, nourishment that it needs, or the economics, you just produce a criminal. Because people always want what they don't have. The hardest thing that you'll ever attain is the things you need. And it's weird. It's sad, because I see it's like 2016 is like a throwback of the 60s during the drug era. And don't you realize, kings and queens, let me tell you something. If you're doing drugs, go get help. Go get help. Get yourself right. I guarantee you, a nickel or a dime, you're doing drugs because you got pain. You got something that's gripped you emotionally, that's your means of checking out, escaping from. But let me tell you what, no matter how much you try to run from you got you. That's why, kings, I tell you all the time, what you got on your back is your legacy. You carry it. You also have your seed. So you must be responsible for that. You know, come on now. Why do you think we have, listen, and this is not to be disrespectful, but I want you to take note of this. Why do you think we have children that suffer from health issues? You gonna tell me as advanced as we are as a medical community, you're gonna tell me that they don't understand what causes Down syndrome? They don't understand what causes schizophrenic behavior, sociopathic behavior? Hmm? You gonna tell me that the medical community doesn't know that? I'm gonna tell you the commonality right off the bat is your mind. If your mind's not right, if your mind's not right, your body's not right. Because if your mind's not right, you're not gonna make sound decisions for you. Who am I talking to? We used to have this little thing. Um, I used to hear this all the time growing up up in DC. He said whenever you saw a man and he had a bunch of girls, that was called the player's curse. And I'm not trying to make light of that, but that was really a spiritual response because for how many girls he had was going to be how many lessons he was going to have to go through because what was going to happen was as they developed, it was going to soften his heart. I don't care if you were Iron Mike Tyson, because guess what? The lessons and the errors in your ways are going to be demonstrated through your daughters. And unfortunately, there's going to be a guy that is going to look just like, it's going to be just like you doing this. And the same thing you did to women in the past, somebody going to try to do to your daughters. So you can't have it both ways. That's why you also see this too. You got closet racists and closet bigots out here. We're in 2016 and we still dealing with racism. But you also understand that racism starts within ourselves. Yes. Hold that thought for a second, guys. Just give me 30 seconds. Okay, appreciate your patience. All right. So, as I was saying earlier, because when I was going through my spiritual storm, the one thing I realized that everything that I had from that point was being placed under review. And I didn't understand that, but I did have like certain nuances because I remember before I embraced it, I had this on my heart. Um, can a man be made new? And it for 6 months that question was on my spirit. And eventually, um, doing research, I ended up writing an email to a church. Come to find out, the church that I emailed, the pastor um, was the same pastor that I would end up attending one of his wedding ceremonies. Come to find out, talking about full circle, right? And he answered it, and he said, "Yes, can a man be made new? Yes, it's called being reborn." So I was like, there was my validation right there, because I knew that I was growing within, and for I could truly embrace it, I also had to take accountability for what I've seen and where I've been, so I can groundwork for where I'm going. See, when it's all said and done, y'all looking at Dr. Gerald Davis, clinical psychologist, that, author, all that. It's coming. All of it comes in due time, and it shall be, because that is my purpose. Each one teach one. Now, so as I was saying earlier, that's why you also see this. You'll see somebody that has a lot of deep seated hatred and resentment, and they'll deflect it, especially they're closet racists or they're bigots, and then what happens is God gets tired of it, and what'll happen is the one thing, whatever that bias was about, you'll end up embracing it in your life. So say, for example, if there was a man, a father, and that was his disposition, if he has a daughter, the child will be of what he resented, which will cause him to change his viewpoint, because how can you hate what is of you? That child would not exist if it wasn't for you. So with that being said, we've got to combat a lot of things that have been going on for far too long in our lives. Some of us, like for example in our community, racism still exists amongst ourselves. You have people that are racist against people light skin, dark skin. Are you serious? Still to this day, we can turn around and blame it on slavery, but really we need to own it on pain. That's where it is. That's why what's going on systematically is you have our family histories are being shredded. Our stories are getting faded out, y'all, because we're not protecting our stories. That's why I believe you are born to be the patriarch or the matriarch of your family. You're also going to be the person that's going to break the generational curse too. But the question is, you have to release the shackles from your life too. You can do the work. Don't worry about your finances. The more you love yourself, the more transparent you become, the more your abundance will come too. Now, I done ran my mouth too much. Love each and every one of you. But it's now this time you've got to have the courage to love yourself. Don't worry about those people in the cheap seats. Don't worry about them. Because the people that are going to be intended to be in your life, guess what? You'll see them. You'll have a story to talk about. It's part of your journey. And guess what? Those people who don't, they'll be pulled out. So the war is, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? Because if you do know who you are, why aren't you loving you? Why aren't you healing? Because of what he makes you feel? What he got you doing? For real? He ain't protecting your heart. She ain't respecting you. And you don't see the commonality why your money's messed up? Come on. Come on back to you. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. If you're feeling what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. But more importantly, every video I put out, each one teach one, share them. That's what they're for. Because what's at stake is your legacy. And only you can protect it because it starts from within. God's praying for you. You know who I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern none. You ready to be loved? Go talk to that person in the mirror. You can do it because you're worth it. Be blessed.